Hi my loves, and welcome back to another tutorial with Eco Designs to Fit. Today I'll be putting you through the process of making this beautiful gown. If this sounds like what you're interested in learning, please keep on watching and let's jump right into it. So guys, here is my Ankara print on top the table. I have 2 yards of Ankara at the red fabric, and then on top the table I also have my half yard of crepe. Okay, I have my ruler, my scissors and my chalk. So the first step you're going to take is to fold your fabric into 4 equal places. So please pay attention to how I'll be folding mine. Now I'm going to first of all fold like this, and after that I'm equally going to fold again, so making it 4 folds. Now I've folded again, as you can see, and after that I'm going to show you exactly what this fold of fabric looks like. Okay, now here is kind of totally folded, and that is going to be serving as our center front and the center back, and you can see that this part of the fabric is open. We're going to be cutting both the front and the back together. That's why we folded into 4 places. Okay, now here is going to serve as the upper parts. So first of all, I'm going to mark down using 1 inch. That is going to serve as my baseline or my starting point. If you have been following my tutorial for years now, you already know this. Okay, now I've connected it into a horizontal line, and then the next thing I'm going to take is my bust point measurements. So from the starting point of my fabric, I'm going to mark down to 11 inches. That is my bust point. Please do make sure to use your own measurements if you are following my tutorial right now. Okay, now after that I'm also going to place my tape on the starting point, and I'll be marking the waist point. My waist point is 17 inches, so I marked it down, and then I equally marked down to 26 inches, which is my hip point, and then to the length of the gown. This is not the full length of the gown because I'm going to use my crepe fabric to complete the remaining length of the gown. So the length I have for this Ankara is 30 inches. I'm going to complete it with the crepe fabric, so the total length of my dress is going to be 35 inches. This means I'm going to add up the 5 inches extra with my Ankara print. I hope you understand. Now, while cutting out the hemline of the Ankara print, you're going to ensure you leave out ½ inch. That will be serving as joining allowance of both the Ankara and the crepe fabric, which are going to be adding afterwards. Next, I'm going to move over to the neckline. So I'll be inputting my neck width of the back and the front 3 inches, the neck depth of the back 1 inch, and then the neck depth of the front I'll be making use of 3 inches. So I have done that. Now I'm going to connect it with my curve. All right, now I'm going to place my tape on the center of the neckline and then divide my shoulder into 2. My shoulder is 15 inches divided by 2 is 7.5 inches. So I marked it out, and then I'm going to equally mark out my sleeve length. Okay, because this is a cut together sleeve dress. So from that point I'm going to mark 9 inches. Can you see? Now after marking that, I'm going to come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope and then connect it back to the neck width. Now after that, I'm going to place my tape on the shoulder slope and then mark out my sleeve opening, which is 10 inches, and then I'm going to connect it back to the shoulder slope like this. And then now after this, I'm going to neglect every other point, which is the bust point, the waistline. I'll move over to the hip point, and I'll divide my hip circumference by 4. Now after that, I'll go ahead and add up extra 4 inches because this is a free dress. Okay, now after marking this out, go ahead and extend it down to the length of this your Ankara print. Now after marking this out, I noticed that the length is almost the same thing as my sleeve length. Okay, so I extended my sleeve length by 2 inches because if you leave it like this, your dress is not going to have a shape right at the underarm. I hope you understand. So I connected that and extended my shoulder slope, and then now I'm going to curve it out like this. Okay, can you see what I just did? If you cannot freehand this, all you have to do is from the bust point come down by 2 inches and slightly curve it into the hip line. I hope you understand. Now after this, I'm going to add up 1/2 inch for my shoulder sewing allowance. Can you see? And then after that, we are going to go ahead and cut this out. Now to cut this out, you're going to first start with the neck depth of the back. Now after cutting the neck depth of the back, go into the shoulder and then to the sleeve opening and then right to the side seam. All right, so guys, you can see we are done cutting out both the front and the back of this dress. Okay, so what we are going to do now is to remove one piece, and that piece you're going to have to remove is the back, because we are still going to work on the front. Okay, because the front is not going to have this circle neckline. We are going to still create the neck depth of this front. Okay, now remember we have already marked out 3 inches previously. Okay, so I'm now going to extend it to about 8 inches. All right, so this is what I just marked out, and I'm going to use my curve to go in like this. Can you see the way I placed in my curve? Just as if I'm cutting out a V neckline, but the V is going to be curvy at the upper part. All right, so I'm going to curve it out properly and then go in with my scissors, cut it out. Now after cutting it out, you're going to ensure that you cut this out properly, because you don't want much curve around that area. And then you're going to slit the remaining center front. Okay, so your front is going to be 2 pieces and the back is going to be just 1 piece. Do you understand? Now after this, we are going to go ahead and chalk the wrong parts. This is because most of the time this Ankara that they produce now comes with the right face looking almost the same thing as a wrong face. So you have to ensure that you always note the wrong face so that you won't get yourself confused by the time you want to join them together. Next, we are going to have to join the shoulder of the back and front together. I have placed in my back on top of the table, and then I'm going in with the fronts. Now you're going to ensure that the right sides are facing each other and then join the shoulders using 1/2 inch. So I'll go right over to my sewing machine, join it, and you guys, this is what I have. The next thing I'm going to do now is to cut out the band, which I'm going to be placing on the neckline. Now to do that, first I'm going to locate the middle of my neckline, as you can see. So once I locate it, I'm going to use my scissors to notch it. So please make sure you follow these steps. After notching it, I'm going to place it on top of the table, and then I will go ahead and measure around the neckline down to the hem. Okay, so I'm going to do that with just one side, and after that I'm going to times it by 2. So after measuring, what I have right here is about 35 inches. So 35 times 2, I'll be having 70 inches. So I'm going to cut out a band that is as long as 70, if not more than that. You want to cut out the one that is more, so that once you are done sewing it in, you go ahead and cut off the excess. Okay, don't make it equal to this 70 inches, just make it excess. It's no harm to make it excess. Okay, so I have my band right here. The length is about 74 inches or thereabout, and then the height is 2.5 inches. I'm going to sew it 1/2 inch, and then it's going to remain just 2 inches. So here is my band. The next thing I'm going to do now is to fold it into 2 and locate the middle. Can you see what I'm trying to do? Just fold your band into 2, locate the middle, so that you can match up this middle part of the band with the middle of your neckline while you sew. Okay, so I am done notching the center of my band. Next thing I'm going to do is to bring in my dress. Okay, so I'll bring it in and then place it on top of the table, just as you can see me doing like this. Now I'm going to match up the center of my band with the center of the neckline. You can see me trying to use my pins to hold it in place. Okay, just so that I will show you what to do. So I will go ahead and use my pin to hold it down to the hemline. All right, now after doing that for one side, I will also repeat the same thing for the other side. All right, so you can see that I have some excesses. Now I'm done with one side. I will go ahead and repeat the exact same thing to the side. So you're going to work with your pin. Make sure you work with your pin, especially if you're a beginner. Okay, I can actually sew this without using my pin, but it's very important that you pin it up so that you know that at least if any excess comes out, you go ahead and cut it out. Okay, so I am done pinning it up at this point. I'll move over to my sewing machine and stitch it with 1/2 inch. So after stitching this, what you're going to have remaining is just 2 inches. That's why you made the height of your band 2.5 inches. Okay, so I am done stitching it into my dress and I have some excess, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it off. So guys, we are done with that part. Next thing we are going to do now is to go ahead and also join the band of the sleeve. Okay, so remember that the sleeve also has a band, but the band of the sleeve is a crepe. Okay, so I will go ahead and measure the length of my sleeve. Can you see the width of my sleeve? Sorry. Now after measuring it, I will equally cut out a band for it. All right, so this band is equally 2.5 inches in height, and then the length is the width of my sleeve. I hope you understand. So now I'm trying to measure it for you guys to see. So please, whatever it is I have on mine is not the same thing you're going to have for yours. So whatever you have, it depends on your own measurements. Go ahead and use your own exact measurement. Now after that, I'm going to place this band right side facing the right side of my dress. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and stitch it. After doing that for one side, I'll repeat the same thing for the other side. You can see me trying to use my pin to secure it. After securing, I'll move over to my sewing machine, stitch it with 1/2 inch so that 2 inches will remain. Okay, so I will go right over to my sewing machine, do that, and come show you guys. Now after that, I will also stitch up the side seam. Okay, so guys, I am done stitching up the band for the sleeve. I've equally joined the side seam, as you can see. So the next thing we are going to do now is to stitch up the remaining length for the dress. Okay, so the remaining length is going to be a crepe. So what I will do now is to measure around the hemline of my dress. So I'm going to measure it all around from one opening to the other side of the opening. Can you see what I'm trying to do? So just make sure you start from one part of the opening to the other end of the opening, which is from one end of the center front to the other end of the center front. Okay, so guys, now that I'm done, whatever it is I have, I'm going to go cut out my crepe. Okay, now I'm going to be cutting this crepe on fold. The hemline of my crepe is going to be folded. I hope you understand. And then the side, I'm also going to sew the side so that I will not have like a rough edge by the side. All right, and then for the upper part is going to also be rough because the upper part is where I'm going to be sewing into the Ankara print. So now the height is 5.5 inches. I will use 1/2 inch to sew it into the Ankara print. Now guys, I am done sewing this and this is what I have, as you can see. So the edge of the center front is being turned so that I will not have like a rough edge. I hope you understand. And now it's time for us to sew in the casing for the drawstring because this dress came with a drawstring on the waistline. Okay, so now I'm going to measure from my shoulder down to my waistline. Remember my waist is 17 inches, right? But now if I'm measuring from my shoulder to the waist, I'm going to use 16 inches because I don't want it to be on my actual waistline. Okay, it's not going to be fine. I want it to be at least 1 inch above my actual waistline. So I've marked that out for the front. I'm going to also mark it out for the back. Okay, so what I will do is for the back, I'll be using the same thing as the front. Okay, the front I used shoulder to the waistline is 16. Now for the back, shoulder to the waistline, I will equally use 16 inches. Now this is the casing that I have cut out for my drawstring. Okay, this is a strip of fabric about 1 inch height, okay, but on cutting it out, I cut out 2 inches and folded in half inch on both ends. Okay, now if I want to sew this in, I'm going to fold in the edge of this, okay, just like I'm trying to show you right now. I'm going to fold it in before sewing into my dress. Can you see? So let me bring in my dress and show you how to sew this in. All right, remember I've marked out where I'll be sewing this in all around my dress. Okay, now remember the 2 inches band on the neckline. You're going to skip that. Okay, your drawstring casing is not going to start from there. You are going to exempt that and start immediately after that 2-inch band. So this is what I'm trying to show you how to do. I will go ahead and use my pin to hold it in place all around down to the other end of the band. I hope you understand. Now guys, if you watch closely, you will notice that I'm not rushing these parts. I'm trying to take my time because I want this casing to be right at the center of the line. So this is what you have to ensure. And also, while working on this, you have to work with your pins. Do not show us at this point that you are a professional, because being a professional will not help you at this point. Whether you are a beginner or a professional, please ensure that you are working with your pin at this point so that this casing will be right at the center. So guys, as you can see I've come to the end of it and I've also stitched this. Now to stitch this, you're going to run a stitch right at both ends of the casing. Okay, now after this, the next step we are going to take is to go ahead and insert the loop. Okay, so I've sewed my loop and this is what I have on top of the table. It is that simple. Just cut out your pieces of fabric and then sew the wrong part, turn over to the right side. All right, and then you're going to have to fix it into the casing, as you can see me doing like this. So to fix this, I'm working with my bodkin because I already have it. If you don't have this, go ahead and work with your safety pin. Okay, so all you have to do is to continue pushing it in until you come out to the other end. Okay, so guys, at this point I have come out to the other end. I'm going to have to knot it so that by the time I draw it, it's not going to pull back in. So after tying one side, you're going to also tie the other side, and then after that you can go ahead and create your buttonhole and your cover button. That is if you want to use that, because if you take a look at the inspiration, they used a buttonhole and a cover button, but for mine I made use of a press button because I don't want buttons showing on this dress. Okay, so guys, this will bring us to the end of this tutorial. I hope you find it helpful. If you do not forget to give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to also subscribe if you haven't done that. I will see you guys in my next one.